watching the Niners game. It's kind of nice being able to record all the games and then watch them later, but it's hard to avoid the spoilers. So, there's if you look at the charts for moisture content in the air and temperature, when we get to 1.5 degrees, we are going to get to 1.5 and we're going to surpass it, because not having taken into account methane in the models. Now, why they didn't do that is staggering. It's really hard for me to understand. I just don't get it. Would that be too much too soon for people? Like the government, if the government come out tomorrow and said, yep, UFOs are real, da-da-da, there's this many spacecraft, well, that's what they did today. They came out and admitted that there were over 100 vehicles between here and the moon that had been exhibiting human behavior. You see, they call it human behavior because it's accelerating quickly, stopping quickly, turning quickly. In other words, it's not acting as if it's an orbital object. Over 100. They came out and said that today. That's a pretty big leap from just leaking stories to let people know, okay, well, what else could it be? Because they like mixing in our technology with alien technology because it helps them. It helps them hide shit, okay? It's going to surpass 1.5, and we're probably going to end up to closer to 3 over the next 30 years before this is all said and done. And at that point, your sweat in the majority of the world that is populated right now, okay, between the northern and southern latitudes, it's going to be hot enough where the sweat's not going to evaporate off your body. I don't know if you know what that means. Nice screen pass. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's bad for people because that's your number one way of you cooling yourself off, okay? Water temperatures in Florida this year reached 90 degrees in some areas. Not the whole place, but in areas, okay, it reached 90 degrees. But when you're talking about 87 degrees out here where people are diving and the reefs are starting to bleach, that's not going to go backwards for a long time. I've seen the change myself. I've experienced it being an outdoorsman, a sportsman, a pilot, and a boat captain. Come on. I've seen the water in the bay better than most. And there's a lot of people there that I know have more experience than me. But I mean, I can toot my horn a little bit because, God, from the age of 10 years old up to the age of 20, I spent 80% of my time on the water. I was either at Lake Berryessa, Russian River, or somewhere along the coastal shore of the bay between Port Costa and Pinole. You can see that on Google. You had to go through a tunnel at the refinery, at the 76 refinery. I wish we had phones that had video cameras, because I gotta admit, my life would fucking blow people away. I've done things that I can look back, even with some of it, I'm like, God, you stupid, you were so stupid. And others like, there's people who would pay for this kind of fucking excitement and adventure. And that's because my mom basically let me, she let me be responsible, and she let me be all I could be. And I think that had a lot to do with my drowning and her experience of my near-death experience, what I put her through for so many years, all this frights that I gave her. I scared her a few times telling her things that I shouldn't have known. And then seeing those little slices, one of them was I didn't like breast milk. Couldn't stand it. Not donated, not my mom. I couldn't do it. And when I told her that, I said, yeah, I remember turning away like this. And she was just shocked. She was shocked. Because when I told her this, I was 50 years old, 48 years old. She was blown away. I said, yeah, I remember discovering my hands in my crib and that they were attached to me. And I would try to use them and I would hit myself. And she said, I used to get so mad. I would get raging mad in my crib, just beet red. And she said she watched me, and that's what I was doing, as I would hit myself and I would get mad. I remember all of that. Those are the little slices that I have seen all throughout my life. And like I said, it's almost cheating knowing that you're going to die an old man, because some of the shit I did, I have no idea why I'm still alive. I have no fucking idea. None of my friends have any idea why I'm still. My family is amazed that I am still alive. The things that I would do in perfectly good airplanes. I have the record for flying under the most bridges in one day. I don't give a fuck what Guinness Book of Records says, okay? I have the record for the most bridges flown under in one day. And if my witness is still alive, I heard he was an alcoholic about 30 years ago, though, so he's probably not. He had some mental issues. But then anyone who would get it, all of my friends actually got in an airplane with me. All of my friends from my town who went to school with me, all of them got rides in the airplane. I would let them fly it, no problem. We had a great time. I got paid to do it. Free gas, fucking free airplane rental, and I got paid to do it from the National Youth Corps because I was an American Indian and there was a black kid. We were allowed that privilege to go to this training. So my Indian heritage really helped me there. It's in the newspapers back then. He ended up crashing in a parking lot running out of gas. Whereas I had already been flying quite a bit before I understood that, yay, there's no pulling over. I was talented at flying aerobatics in an airplane at a young age as I was on a motorcycle or driving a car, you know what I mean? Definitely could have chosen that for a career. But when I went in the military and got injured, that stopped all of that. There are periods in my life where I'll have like a month, maybe even 2 or 3 months where I'm feeling like, fuck, maybe this is over. Maybe it's not going to happen again. I used to tell myself that all the time. Maybe it's not going to happen again. And then one of the worst ones was I was just combing my hair. That's when I had hair. Just combing my hair. I combed it all straight back. And I coughed like that. And it was right here in the thoracic part where now I know I have disc degeneration. It fucking put me on the floor for 91 days. The fire department had to carry me out of my house. But there were 100 incidents before that where I would be laid up for a minimum of 2 weeks where I could, you're in a cold sweat by the time you get back to lay down. That's why I read so much. I spent a lot of time in bed. I've lived an interesting life. I have pretty much done it all and seen it all. I'm one of those guys that give you a business card that has a whole list of shit on the back, from adventurer down to lover, you know. And I've seen the world change. I've seen it change with my own eyes. While I was living my life of adventure, I watched it deteriorate and break down. From being a sportsman and an adventurer my whole life, you know what I mean? We would go down to the bay. We would spend days down there. Days. Camping out, fishing, looking for big fish. And when I mean big fish, I mean fish that could win if you catch one. And I watched it change. I remember the big die-off, the big catfish die-off in the 60s. No, and 77, 76, they had big water coming down from the north and a high tide. The catfish moved down into the bay from the delta. Millions of them were washed down into the bay on an outgoing tide. And then they crashed into an incoming tide, and all of this water was still pushing from behind. And it all collided around Joseph's Beach, Pinole in there. If you look on Google, you can see where that's at, basically in the bay. As the currents are coming around the corner from Carquinez, headed out towards the bay. Giant die-off. Mile after mile after mile after mile of dead catfish. The bay was never quite the same after that. Now, I would take friends fishing, and I would guarantee them that their arm, by the time the day is over, their arm will be cramping, and they'll quit fishing before the fish stop biting. And they found out it was true. I could take you to a spot where the striped bass, they were all around. You know, further out, you're talking about 22 to 28 pound stripers. But in towards a place called Hot Waters, that was where the water came out of the 76 refinery. You can see that on Google too. Just follow the railroad tracks all the way down. You'll see a big square place where we used to fish, and then there's a corner, and they used to have it fenced off to keep people from getting on the other side onto the Standard Oil property. And every single cast master with a red thread wrap white feather tail or just a fuzz tail, every single cast, and there were so many fish that the water would be dark. You'd see these gigantic football field sized dark areas moving upstream, one after another, all day long, and they would stop biting. There were times when the bite would be off, but you could just cast over the dark area and snag them. That's how many there were. I can tell you that over the last 10 years, if you went down there, you might get lucky and get a hit. I remember taking a friend of mine, the giant fire in Oakland, Berkeley, that area. He was a fireman, and he was on his last stages of training, and I took him out on the boat, and we were up deep in the delta fishing for stripers and sturgeon. And we could see the plume, looked like a giant tower, a pillar of smoke. He's like, man, you got to take me back. I mean, we had waited 14 months to get this trip, and yeah, okay, so we're gonna I gotta take him back. You know what I mean? Back then, even then, the hit had been off. So I'm not sure what that was, 88, whatever, somewhere in there. That was it. From then on out, it just got worse. And I had to stop telling people. I used to tell people, we used to do this, we used to do that. Because I saw the degradation myself. Where I live, we have a very special microclimate. And come on, get a safety, guys. We have a very special, almost microclimate. And the air gets pushed down into the valley and gets heated through compression. And so even though we're up at the far, far, far end of Northern California, at the end of the valley, it's 115 where we're at. And then when you go down to LA, it's 81. Because we have this microclimate. You would think being this far north, well, the same thing happened again last summer. It was 113 at a place where you would think never ever got over 88 degrees. This is part of the reason why they don't include methane in the model. Because just like if they told us the truth about UFOs, not me, because I've had so many experiences my whole life. I'm rather familiar with it, actually. I don't have to read about it. I've been fucking personally involved in sightings and close-up fucking shit my whole life. So, no big deal. But if they told the general public, if the general public knew what I knew and had experienced what I experienced, things would have already changed. But see, that was a pretty big jump when they said that they have now tracked over 100 objects. They said there's thousands, but hundreds of them, is what they said, had exhibited human-type behavior. And see, they didn't want to say intelligent, because it's either us or aliens. We got all this secret fucking technology flying around between the Earth and the Moon, and no one knows about it. It'd be a lot of fucking explaining to do. So they want to, I'll guarantee you, half of this shit is us. We've been able to go to the moon and back. This is part of the whole fucking problem is they've figured out some of these technologies they should be sharing with the world to help us keep it under 2.5 degrees or 3, which is where we're headed. It's very frustrating for me, knowing the truth, living it. I'm not your average fucking guy, okay? I was on the team that I'm sure we saved vast portions of the East Coast of the United States from radiation contamination that would last for thousands of years. I've flown under the most bridges than any other pilot in the world. You know what I mean? I've caught fish that were this close to the world record sturgeon. Who I taught those kids to fish. Yeah, I've had a pretty interesting life. I've flown under 3 bridges up here in Northern California, inverted, in an airplane that wasn't supposed to be flown inverted. I come back, the fucking instruments are all jacked up, the artificial horizon. I got paid to do that. I was so lucky. I've been scuba diving at 200 feet. I can't tell you how fast I've been in an airplane. But I've been 300 in a private airplane. Yeah, lived an interesting and complicated life. Only 6 people in the world had my job in the nuclear business. And I trained most of them. Yes, I hold the world record for installing that robot in a nuclear steam generator. Still to this day, I'll guarantee you, no one's ever beat my time. So when I tell you that I understand climate change, and I know, just like I understand the Kessler syndrome, okay, these things aren't coming from somebody who has fucking delusions of grandeur. The story of my life is a story of vast fucking adventures and craziness that most people could never even fucking live through. Just my time on motorcycles and the shit I've done on bikes, not just drag bikes, but I mean just out on the street in the fucking public, as long as I've been riding. And really, all I have to show for it is one really serious accident, and that was with a dog. The rest of the time, my falling off correctly has saved me from serious injury. So when I tell you that we're going to 2.5, 3 degrees, this is something I'm considering seriously. Because I want my granddaughter and great-granddaughter to be prepared that this is going to fucking happen, okay? I know the property that we have right here one day is going to be worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. And that's going to be their escape 50 years from now when shit's gone to hell in a fucking handbasket, where they're growing food in buildings. The Central Valley down here, the Imperial Valley, the Northern California Valley, they've used the groundwater up because of too many droughts, too many dry years. And so they've just continued to pump the groundwater out. So the way that actually works is it's strata. There's not a giant fucking hole down there. There are strata, okay? And the problem is a vast majority of those that are deep are clays and degraded bedrock, okay? Rotted, degraded bedrock. And it turns into a fucking clay that's not permeable. It holds water. The problem is when they pump that shit out and the valley sinks down, that sinking are all of the little all the little pockets, like taking a sponge and squeeze. If you have a sponge this thick full of water and you start putting a pressure on it, okay, it's going to do that as you take the fucking water out. The weight of the ground collapses. And so I have pictures that are scary. 77 feet of decline since I think it's 1949, and that number stopped in 1982 or 1977 on the telephone pole. The picture's online. It's on Google about subsidence in California. Now we got two feet a year of subsidence. They have a person in charge of that who goes and plants steel poles down to bedrock, and then they measure how much it's subsiding, and it's 2 feet a year. Think about that. 2 feet a year. We've already lost 77 feet. That's the mountains that have washed down into the valley that gave us our fertile farmland. The rocks have been degraded through weathering and rain and natural processes, and you get a sedimentary layer down there, okay? But the problem is a lot of it was clays down deep, especially during the volcanic eras, okay? And it's closed all those areas off. We're not getting them back. You could put a fucking lake over that area, and it's not going to pressurize down there. We would literally have to drill down into the clays and pump water back the way we're pumping it out, under pressure. I've seen the degradation, and I don't see it stopping because I don't see the causes behind the degradation stopping. I don't see that stopping. It's fucked up. There's going to come a point where we reach the dew point where sweat's just not going, it's going to be so moist And the air is going to be so wet and full of water vapor that there are going to be places that become simply unlivable outside during the daytime and maybe even most of the nighttime. Because even at night, there'll be so much moisture in the atmosphere that sweat won't evaporate. That's why that's why they don't take into account methane, because I think just like they have the fucking, one of the heads of the oil fucking kingdom, you know what I mean, running COP23, that's why we don't have methane included into that, because methane is so much more dangerous. It's so much more fucking dangerous than carbon dioxide. Not even close. And we know that it's being produced by nature in vast quantities because of this temperature rise. And if we do get to 2.5 to 3 degrees, the entire area of tundra on the upper part of our planet will melt. So there is enough methane there to spark a real change in the composition of our atmosphere that could be dangerous for human life. It's always the little bugs, it's always the little things that make the biggest changes over time. You know what I mean? When bacteria starts to break down all of that vegetable matter, all of the animal matter that's under there, it's like, wow. I mean, for me, it scares me. I can tell you right now, it scares me. The person that I just told you was experienced in life in many ways and many things, okay, is telling you, I'm scared as fuck about the methane. I have said this for 15 years. It has always been methane since the very first blowhole of methane, because I thought the amount of energy, the amount of gas pressure that had built up to blow that big of a hole. They're flying over it in a helicopter. It's the first one anyone had ever seen. They were talking about mystery, but you could see that the material had been blown out of it. And I'm thinking, how much pressure did it take? Because it's not like that whole plug was totally thawed out, because you can see the fucking ice layers still are all the way around the inside of the hole. You could see solid fucking ice. How much pressure did it take? And the numbers I'm thinking just scared the fuck out of me. And they should you, okay? Listen, if there's a politician out there and they say there's no such thing as climate change, or we got plenty of time, or we're gonna come up with some miracle fucking solution, or non-carbon concrete's gonna save the fucking world, or, you know, if you hear that shit, okay, that you fucking vote them out of office. You want that person that is scared as fuck. Otherwise, your generation right now, if you're 25 years old, your generation is fucked. When you're my age, okay, you will be living indoors in air conditioning, and it will be the only way to exist in most places outside. Water, fresh water, supplies of fresh water, they'll be fighting over those, okay? Farmers won't get to just flood their field with fucking water and let it evaporate. That's going to stop fucking happening because it'll be worth too much money. Farming will be done vertically in buildings where they can control and recycle the environment. That is what is going to happen. If I was going to talk about investing in future technologies, that would be it. Because this valley is sinking and the water is rising. And Sacramento floods all the time when we have a lot of rain because it's fairly low. And, you know, there's days I've been down there on super tides in December, you know, and see a mere 6 foot between where the water is and Sacramento Prime, the valley. If Thwaites goes, that's 8 feet over that. If Thwaites goes, it's not just at 6 feet, but it's going to be another minimum 8 feet over that at high tide, in the entire fucking valley now being a bowl because a man's fucking sucking the ground dry. It's going to turn into a marsh. Probably pretty fucking nasty because I don't see a lot of water movement that's going to make this some kind of a brackish water paradise kind of. No, I think it's going to be a mosquito infested fucking swamp, nasty, fucked up thing is what I think it's going to be for hundreds of thousands of years to come. Then it might become something like that, because by then the rest of the ice will have melted. You see, I know human nature. We're not going to stop at 1.5 because, again, we're not taking methane into account, and I am. The technologies that could help us are being hidden because they're ace-in-the-hole technologies, and military sources see what's fucking happening. They're not stupid. They got think tanks full of fucking high IQ, bean counting motherfuckers who are telling them exactly what I'm telling you. And they want to keep these technologies as ace-in-the-hole technologies so they can win a fucking war for what? Over what? You see, the only thing that could prevent the type of pressures that are coming from climate change is to have new technologies come out where they're like, okay, this piece of material, this big and this big, we can run a watch off of it, or we can run 50 cities off of it. A watch or a city, exactly the same as far as this energy source is concerned. It's nothing to it. See, that's what we need. It's not going to happen because I know human nature. It kind of sucks. I always tell you, and I have, and I probably always will, I wish I could wake up in the fucking morning and not know any of this and just have rose-colored glasses on with oh, it's such a wonderful day. Everybody's singing their happy fucking song. How awesome it is. No, listen, I understand exactly what today is. Today is just one more fucking day that they, okay, are going to try to suck more money out of the planet. And I know the end cause of that. Okay, I feel better. I saw a commercial come on. I saw a commercial come on with the technology that's going to save us all from climate change. Da, 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 da. And it's fucking oil groups are the ones that did the commercial. And so I feel obligated, fucking obligated, to come and speak the truth. And that, no, I'm not some fucking moron who's never been educated or never been anywhere in the world, okay? I'm someone who I think it's worthwhile listening to. Yeah, that's kind of fucking arrogant, isn't it? But Musashi said the truth is what it is, and you must bend to its will or live a lie. I am trustworthy when it comes to talking about this, and the people who have been here 15 fucking years understand that every prediction I've made has come true. Is that not correct, people? Of course, this is the Mr. Dangerous Idea page and not the Gamers Getting Played page. I may load this video over there too, because those people will say, you predicted all of this fucking shit, how it was going to happen, how it was going to go down. And again, I always thought once this methane crisis started that it would be counted and that would stop people that it would help. But what they did was, okay, well, we'll just fucking leave methane out of it, and that's going to give us our 50 years we keep telling people about. You know, Thwaites Glacier is ungrounded. Do you know what that means? It is no longer grounded. If you don't know what that means, go fucking look it up. Okay? If you want to know where it's getting hottest, fastest in the world, go look that up. If you want to know how many methane blowholes in karst lakes are pumping methane in the atmosphere, go look it up. And if you find that anything I've told you is a lie, okay, then, you know, you can just put it in the comments for me to shut my mouth. And then give me any information that says what I'm saying isn't true. Also, check out the article. Like I said, the fucking United States military today claimed that there are thousands of objects, but there are 100 of these objects have been showing human behavior. So they're trying to say it's the Chinese or us. Or, I don't know what the fuck they're trying to say, but what they're saying is that quick acceleration, sharp turns, non-ballistic behavior, etc., etc., etc. That's pretty fucking big. That's a pretty fucking big statement. Okay, that's a big leap. Okay? A big leap. Okay. Thank you for letting me scare you.